back to There Will Be Expletives. I'm Jeff.
I'm Ron.
And we're always recording this shit too late, but we're both sick. You more so than me. We both just got our ass handed to us by Dark Souls because we went on break, and that was a terrible fucking idea.
Yes, it was.
We didn't play Dark Souls at all for like 3 weeks. Proceeded to get our ass handed to us. Didn't end up getting 2 bosses done, so...
Yeah, that was cool. We haven't done that in a while in one video.
Got that cleared out. That we'll be putting that up on the YouTube under There Will Be Expletives, so you can check out our sequential Dark Souls there. This episode of our podcast is going to include our spoiler-free and spoiler-filled Jessica Jones review. We're going to do what we've done in the past, and we're going to put that at the end of our show, spoiler-free first. That way you can just shut off the pod. You can also... We're probably going to lightning round the news as much as possible because I'm sure we'll ramble about Jessica Jones for too long. So yeah, you're also totally, free to skip ahead towards the Jessica Jones review if you'd rather not hear the news. But we're going to start with the movie news this week. First up, Alien Covenant, we reported a couple weeks ago, is the official new name for Prometheus 2. Ridley Scott has announced it will be Alien Covenant being the first in an Alien prequel trilogy.
Which, it's the sequel to Prometheus, which technically would make it the first of, what is that, a quadrilogy?
Basically what this tells me is they are making, they're letting this continue because of Ridley Scott, but they're going to make you forget Prometheus ever happened. You're not going to hear anything, literally other than Fassbender and I think her name's Naomi Rapace coming back. It's not going to have shit to do with that movie at all.
It's just weird, a trilogy starting from part 2.
I think they're sweeping it under the rug, and they're going to brand Alien all over it, and they're going to pretend Prometheus never happened. Which most of the world was okay with. I didn't find it was that bad, but we've gone to linked about that, so.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the next little tidbit, and the rest of it in movie news is all comic and superhero related. So first up, we were also reported recently about how it was looking like Punisher was going to be replacing Iron Fist and all the Netflix stuff they have going on. Jeph Loeb, comic fans will recognize him. He's written quite a few really famous Batman runs, amongst others. He is now at Marvel in a head position of, I think he's over just their TV period. I'm pretty sure he's listed as an exec producer on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he's also part of their brain trust over on the Netflix side of it. So he has basically come out and said, no, these are all just BS rumors. Iron Fist, has not been canceled. We have not officially moved forward with Punisher, and basically saying that whole rumor was, BS. I think this is BS, because I think Punisher is going to happen.
Yeah, I think it is too. The fan response to it already, when we haven't even seen anything of it, has just been insane.
Yeah, people went apeshit when they announced Bernthal.
Yes.
And also, they've just started filming Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, which was their original 4th TV show. It doesn't have a showrunner or a lead. Yeah. That's not good. So I think it's only a matter of time until we get Daredevil and Punisher hits really big, and I think Bernthal's going to knock it out of the park, and I think that's going to be, because I like Iron Fist as a character. I think he could work for either a TV show or a movie with what they're doing, but for what they've set up, Punisher just works a billion times better.
Right.
And also, we talked about this, I think we've actually talked about this off mic, but I can bring it up here too. The original thinking behind Iron Fist being a part of the Defenders here is because in the comics, he was always matched up with Luke Cage.
Right.
Well, they've already kind of taken care of working Luke Cage into the story with Jessica Jones.
Yes.
Because he works perfectly with her.
And then they're matching up Punisher with Daredevil.
Yeah. So it works out better, in my opinion. So we'll get more official confirmation later on, probably once Daredevil launches.
Basically, they just don't like that news broke before they broke it.
Also working against Iron Fist is he is one of the more mystical characters, and that is going to be one of their big draws to Doctor Strange, is the mystical side of the MCU. Right. They're not going to want to, shoot their load early with Iron Fist when they can pimp out Doctor Strange even more by having that be like the first introduction to that part of the MCU. So yeah, I think that's how it's going to go down. But we will get official confirmation later, probably sooner rather than later. Honestly, with I think Daredevil season 2 is going to be coming down the pipe. Was it early 2016 when they're looking?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So looking forward to getting more official confirmation on that. More MCU news. Civil War popped its first trailer in a surprise appearance by, I believe it was Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. on the Jimmy Kimmel show. I believe it was Jimmy Kimmel. They kind of made a surprise appearance and released their first full trailer for Civil War. They never even had a teaser for this. They just went straight trailer for the first one.
Well, I guess Age of Ultron was kind of the teaser.
So yeah, basically. They showed the full trailer. I think it's between 2 minutes and 2.5 minutes. And basically, we need to have a little PSA. Ron is going to start watching teaser trailers and then basically trying to stay away from as many trailers as he can. I'll let you...
I can't avoid this one, though, because I'm going to Star Wars and it's all Disney.
Yeah, you'd have to shut your eyes and go, oh. So I am going to continue watching the trailers and providing my input on it. I'm also going to basically, if I hear lots and lots of shit coming out of the trailer, people complaining, I will try to stay away. But for stuff like this, I just can't help myself. But I'll give my brief thoughts on it without spoiling too much for Ron. To me, this is Avengers 2 more so than Ultron.
Okay.
Ultron also had great trailers, so we know that doesn't always equal good movie, because Ultron's fine, but it was a letdown,
yes.
I mean, to be honest. To me, this screams more Avengers 2.0 than Ultron did, because this has actually gone down the regular planning route their movies typically do. When Ultron, when you hear, like, the misery they put Whedon through, it was just a colossal clusterfuck. And it's a miracle it's as good as it is.
It's a miracle that we haven't read about Joss Whedon, like, swinging in a closet.
Totally.
Like, it's, seriously, after everything he went through on that.
It looks great. Really, really cool action scenes. It was a little bit like the Star Wars action in their big trailer, about how they show you like the beginning of action sequences, but never showing you like the meat of it, like not doing the Dark Knight thing of showing the truck flipping over. Right. They never show anything that appears to be like climactic. You don't see Spider-Man, you do see Black Panther, and his costume is fucking incredible.
I've seen the stills.
Like they've had, it was just on the cover of Entertainment Weekly today, I think. And look, like Google Black Panther costume, because it looks like amazing and looks way better than it has any business.
Yeah.
Because when you just think about it, if you look at that on the page, like, man, you say, like, that'd be hard to translate. And not only does it work, but it's a perfect translation.
Yeah,
like, it looks
they rip
like
it right off the page.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
It shouldn't work.
So, yeah, if that's any inclination, because, like, that should be harder to pull off than Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange is probably going to look amazing, too.
Yeah, I cannot wait for Doctor Strange, dude.
So, yeah, love the trailer. Cannot freaking wait for it. Slated May 6th of next year, I think. I think this is one that you can watch without having too much spoiled for you. It looks like they're following the comic storyline, sort of, kind of, like it's loosely based, like a lot of their properties have been. But I encourage people to check it out. I think it's not egregious as far as trailers go. This next one, I think some people might be a little ticked off by. This next one,
we're not watching.
We're moving over to the DC portion of the comic book movie news, and today they released the official. Or I think it was yesterday or the day before. They had a teaser for the trailer for Batman v Superman. It was the official trailer number 2. Their first one came out, was at Comic-Con? Is that when the first one came out?
I believe so.
So this one they just released tonight. It's not to the point to where, like, I'm pissed off about seeing it. Like, I think the full Jessica Jones one would have pissed you off more if you were forced to watch both of them.
Okay.
But with this one, they showed more than I wanted to see, more than they had to show, but it's not to the point to where I'm personally pissed off, but I could see people getting pissed off about this one. I will not go into details about what they show. This is one thing I think I can talk about because we talked about it before. It looks like Batman in his regular costume will have a voice changer. I think you'll be happy to hear that.
Yes.
The action looks ridiculous, as you would expect from Zack Snyder. From what I've seen, it's definitely, I love the first full trailer.
Yes.
First full trailer is definitely better
The Wonder Woman shots were fantastic in that too.
This one I think is going either really, really great or really, really bad. I don't think it's going to be like
I know what direction.
You know, Ultron was a letdown, but it fell squarely in the middle. Like, it wasn't great and it wasn't bad.
Yes and no. I got burned pretty good on it.
But I mean, just graded as a movie. It was a letdown because it was an Avengers movie, but it wasn't a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, for what they put Whedon through, it could have been a colossal piece of shit.
Yes.
And it wasn't bad, it was just a letdown. There is a difference.
Yeah.
This one, I think, is going to be really fucking good or really fucking bad. So, yeah. I will not go any more details than that since Ron's trying to stay away from them. We don't have any more trailers, but we do have some more tidbits about the DC lineup they have coming out. And this is something Ron pointed out. They are going team-up movie crazy with this.
Yes, I do not like what I'm hearing with all the crazy-ass team-up movies.
So not only are they starting off with... after Batman v Superman, we have Suicide Squad. That is a team-up movie.
Yes.
It is not like a marquee team, but it is a team-up movie.
It is a team-up movie.
So, it's looking like,
my opinion, Batman vs Superman is probably going to end up a team-up movie, too.
Yeah.
I feel like at the end there's going to be something that happens that they have to work together.
They, I don't think it'll be what they're going to end up doing with Justice League, insane amounts, but it is going to be probably a team up.
Yeah.
In the Justice League film, which I think they have currently on the agenda to be released in 2017, they have the one female lead in Wonder Woman. Well, the big toast of Hollywood at the moment is female leads, so it looks like they're trying to add another one for it, and it's looking like the character they have chosen is going to be Black Canary.
God, I hope it's Laurel, and I hope she dies.
All I want is it to be Laurel, and I want Darkseid, and I want her Omega Beam, so I can make that my screensaver on my computer. But in all seriousness, I do like Black Canary as a character when she's not played by Laurel on Arrow. She's a pretty cool character. She's a little worthless compared to the Justice League members.
Right.
So you never know.
She's a low-budget Batman, more or less.
Yeah, you never really... this is a rumor that I think is much more of a rumor than the Iron Fist story was.
Yeah.
But what I do think...
Because the second half of this, it does make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Though.
The team-up movie that I think will happen with her, because like we were saying, Hollywood female leads are all they're about at the moment. Birds of Prey, which if you're not familiar, actually was an attempted but failed CW show that they started that had, I don't think she was Batgirl. I think Batgirl was Oracle, and they had Black Canary and Huntress. Those are typically your three mainstays that they use. So they're talking about doing a Birds of Prey team-up movie, which I think Black Canary is much, much more likely to appear there than Justice League. Not to say that, if they had Black Canary in Justice League, it would, ruin the movie, but she is out of place, just because, what, compared to Wonder Woman and Superman, what is fucking Black Canary gonna do? Let's be honest,
she's gonna scream really loud, break some glass.
She's gonna make Ron quit Arrow Season 3. And with Birds of Prey, they're talking that. They haven't announced anything official yet. We'll hear about that.
This next one...
eventually.
This next one I wanted to take over from Jeff, because this one kind of disappoints me, this possible rumor. It was a rumor, right? It wasn't announced.
I don't think any of this DC stuff has been announced officially.
I have been looking forward to the fucking Titans TV show that they keep teasing you with, and then you never get any more details. Then you'll hear something occasionally, and then you'll never hear any more details. And it's supposed to be on TNT. It was going to be basically an adult Teen Titans led by Nightwing. And that's what I want, is a fucking TV show with Nightwing in it, kicking ass, taking names. And I also wanted a Cyborg movie because I think he's an interesting character and he never gets to do anything on his own. Well, now the rumor is, instead of the TV show...
It was all the polar opposite of what you wanted.
Yeah. Instead of the TV show Titans, they're probably going to turn the Cyborg movie into the adult Teen Titans.
If the plan is to make the Cyborg movie into Teen Titans, then that TV show is officially dead.
Yes.
Because, as you've seen, they won't let Batman like near the light of day if he's being used in a movie.
Yeah.
They do not like their big hitters, and when you think about it, Teen Titans is actually potentially more marketable than even Superman. Because that cartoon was incredibly popular.
Oh, yeah.
Like, a lot of people know who Raven, Starfire, and Beast Boy are solely because of that cartoon. And these movies...
That was a damn good cartoon.
I like that cartoon a lot,
That's
too.
That's probably the best one they've done since Batman the Animated Series and Batman Beyond.
Well, it actually... I think that was a different team. It wasn't like the Tim team, but like just as far as DC cartoons, yeah. Young Justice also up there with those two that you need to get caught up on. But I think this is probably true because, like you were saying, we haven't heard shit about that Teen Titans cartoon, or that live-action show. And they got the rights to that, like, over a year and a half ago, I think. It's been a while.
And they've done nothing with it. They have no writers. They were supposed to start casting last month or the month before, and nothing ever came out of that. They claim that they've been busy with other projects, but what the fuck does TNT have?
I think Legends with Sean Bean, maybe, is on TNT.
And then they were talking about,
they
would be interested in crossing over some of the CW stuff if they wanted to, and it just sounded like it was going to be fucking awesome.
Okay, let's back it up with the movie aspect. I will be sad if we lose that TV show, but from the movie aspect, if that TV show was never going to happen anyway...
Then at least we got the movie.
At least we get Dick Grayson in some way, shape, or form, because Dick Grayson is, to me, the single most underused great character in all of comics, period. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, we've got, his representation in the Schumacher movies was not particularly good. What the fuck was shown good in those movies? Like, that wasn't Dick Grayson's fault as a character that those movies sucked. So, and that was going on 20 years ago? Like, give the guy a chance. Like, do something with him.
No one will ever go near that character again for some reason.
I don't think he's quite as fucked over as Mr. Freeze is, but it looks like it's pretty close considering we've never seen him even, like, talked about, but yeah.
He's never even mentioned or referenced.
Some more DC news popped up, as far as, like, team up and stuff like that, but it wasn't with the movies, it was actually with the CW TV shows, and that is, something that me and Rob have been looking forward to for a while. Legends of Tomorrow.
Could not be more excited.
They released their first full-length trailer.
It was 2 minutes and 55 seconds to be exact.
And it was a long trailer, but it didn't appear to give away too much. It was a nicely done trailer.
Honestly, from what I understand, they can't have much filmed anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
That's probably all the pilot and probably the second episode.
If you're unfamiliar, Legends of Tomorrow is going to be the next spin-off of Arrow. It is basically a collection of side characters from both Arrow and Flash mixed together with a little Rory from Doctor Who thrown in.
Yeah.
His character sounds so badass. I hope he's actually like a part of the show and not just like
popping in and out in
the first 5 minutes, giving them their mission and going.
You don't want him to be the soccer mom, just dropping them off.
Yeah. I hope he actually has like something to do because he does seem like a cool character.
Well, he does have a revolver that glows, so...
It was actually a really funny trailer too. Like they had some good one-liners, people going on.
But it was some intense action scenes.
Yeah.
This was shit that we have yet to see from CW. I feel like.
Yeah, it almost felt to me like, and I was actually surprised to hear this was going to be 16 episodes. My impression was this was going to be like a mini-series, like 8 episodes or 10, something like that. Because the impression I got from their trailer was it felt more like an HBO or Cinemax miniseries.
Yeah.
Like 8 or 10 highly produced that felt like an 8-hour movie instead of a TV show. But if they can keep up that pace for 16 episodes, that's fine. It's just...
Well, how could they not? You're talking Vandal Savage, one of the greater villains that they've got going. You're talking time travel. Doctor Who's been on for how long now? This is basically Doctor Who and Justice League.
Yeah, that was actually their pitch for it to get it going.
So, I'm on board. I'm totally on board.
Yeah, it's going to be in the notes. I'm going to spoil the notes, but I actually said, with one trailer, Legends of Tomorrow is already better than Arrow.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
So, actually, tonight should have been the part 2 of the Arrow Flash crossover.
Which I'll be watching the fuck of tomorrow.
I don't know this for sure because I haven't watched it yet, but... just based on the title being Legends of Today, that it's the setup for Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I think
It's Legends of Today, and then what was the part 2 title?
I think Legends of Yesterday, maybe. I think they went back in time or something with the second part title. Yeah, something like that. But we were just talking about Doctor Who, so that's a nice segue to our next story. This was a really fun story. You need to watch the video if you're unaware. Peter Jackson, famously known for both the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy, amongst other more kind of like low budget horror sci-fi type stuff. Well, he released apparently he's renowned for this, making these little like YouTube skits, putting them on his Facebook and stuff like that. Well, he's been in talks,
which is funny because apparently Moffat likes doing that too.
Yeah. It's been in talks of Peter Jackson potentially doing a Doctor Who episode for a long time, apparently. Apparently this has been like talked about for the last like 3 or 4 years. I didn't get, from reading the article, like a lot of backstory as to why it hasn't happened yet. But the video Peter Jackson released was a little joke video. But I think it's actually legit, because like, why else would he have Peter Capaldi with the video, in character, with a Dalek.
And a Dalek,
there.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, he's, basically the trailer is definitely go and watch it. If you haven't, pause the video, go watch it and come back. And you were warned.
How much you want to bet that the way he gets away from that Dalek is a giant fucking eagle just swoops down and grabs him?
The funniest part of me is when they first show Peter Jackson, he's polishing all like 8 of his Oscars he has. It's hilarious. And Peter Capaldi in character, like Ron was saying, runs in, is freaking out, basically saying, like, I have this. Is he asking him to sign it from Moffat?
Yeah.
And Peter Jackson's at the table with his daughter. They're both just kind of like acting like nothing's happening, while Capaldi and a Dalek are running around behind him. It's really funny. And I think since they had Capaldi and a freaking Dalek there, I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's legit.
If that is not legit, fuck them for that ruse, dude. Because that is an elaborate prank to get all of them there. But I can't wait. Love Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, so it's freaking Peter Jackson, dude. Like,
oh yeah,
it's gonna be cool. Let's see. I'm gonna let Ron take over for the next one because this is more his area. So yeah, take it away.
Here's your fucking expletives, because I don't see how this is gonna work if it's gonna happen. It's all still just kind of rumor and conjecture, I think, and hearsay. But Tremors movie franchise possibly coming to TV. They've got 5 movies now. The 5th one's up on Netflix, just released this year. Rumor has it that Kevin Bacon is wanting to bring it to TV. He wants to star in it. He wants to be executive producer. And I guess it kind of makes sense because he's the one character that has not come back since the first one. A lot of the other main characters have all come back in the other movies.
I wasn't aware he was only in one. I think I've seen a couple of these, but I was a kid. I don't remember them.
Yeah, he was in the first one, and then in the second one, when they recruit Fred Ward and Michael Gross, they're like, well, what about Val, which was his character? And they're like, well, he got married to the girl from the first movie. Why the fuck would he come back and chase these things? So they just kind of wrote him out that way. Michael Gross, though, I feel like is the one getting screwed over here because Michael Gross has been the one that's been starring in them by himself since the third one. He's done the 3rd, 4th, and 5th one by himself. So if he's not involved in any way, then that's just not right. But he's got the coolest character too, by the way, Bert. But yeah, I just don't see how you can take Sitting on a Rock, Hiding from Man-Eating Worms, the movie, into Sitting on a Rock, Hiding from Man-Eating Worms, the TV show.
So, as you sound like you're a pretty decent fan, like not like crazy fan.
I love those.
You love those movies.
Yeah, the 4th one's kind of weak, but I mean,
will you watch the show? Just maybe the pilot.
I would almost kind of have to give it, 2 or 3 episodes,
just to give it to see how it goes.
Yeah,
because I mean, they have to be clever about the gist of the show, how they make it work, because it is a good point that literally. They're just chilling on a rock.
I mean, the end of the first one, they're literally just chilling on a rock. And then there's a scene in the second one where they're in about 2/3 of the way through that they are just chilling on a rock, stranded, not knowing what to do.
Okay, you have to bear with me. Are there multiple creatures, or is it a singular creature?
In the first one, I think there was like 4 of them. In the second one, it's like 30.
So, could like maybe an idea be like they figure out their hive mind and taking out the queen or something like that? Because that gives them an objective and a reason to move.
The way they have them set up in the movies, I mean, they would almost have to reboot it, I would think, to do that.
Which doesn't sound like they want to do that because they're getting Kevin Bacon back.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So it's because in the movies they're just highly intelligent. They learn and adapt really quick, and they work together as a team, like a wolf pack.
This one I also don't think...
In the first movie, I think it was... Yeah, the first movie, you find out that they are possibly why the dinosaurs went extinct.
Okay. Whoa, that blew my mind a little bit on that one.
Yeah.
So that one is another one where they haven't really given any official confirmation as far as who has picked them up, if they have even been officially picked up yet. They didn't really have a whole lot of news behind it other than Kevin Bacon.
Everything that I know of is just kind of Kevin Bacon talking.
Basically, Kevin Bacon, he was also going to be exec producing it, just kind of driving the train, making it happen. So
I mean, he was originally the one that said that he wanted to make another movie, and then they did with Michael Gross.
So he wanted to make the other movie, and then he kind of blew up where he was kind of too big for Tremors anymore? Is that what happened?
No, he was saying he wanted to do another movie. He thought it was time to bring it back. And then they did, but they didn't invite him to the party.
Okay.
They did it with Michael Gross.
They didn't want to pay him.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. We got one more little bit of TV news to get to really quick. This one, fucking Game of Thrones. How many times have we said fucking Game of Thrones?
Every time we talk about it.
So, we're going to talk about this one as delicately as possible because I don't want to talk about any details regarding this because it's basically a gigantic spoiler.
Yes.
Kinda.
But
when you look at it.
Yes.
To get it, you are, to understand how it is a somewhat spoiler is spoiling it, so I'm going to talk around it. Game of Thrones had a gigantic what the fuck moment happen in the end of the last season, and basically their new poster for season 6 is trolling the entire world in relation to what you know or do not know. So
can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
My phone just lit up because Mark Dacascos liked our tweet when we tweeted about him joining the cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No shit.
Yeah, that just now happened.
Does that mean we're official celebrities now? We made it
I guess so. The chairman of fucking Iron Chef, who has been making appearances in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., just now liked our tweet of us breaking the news of him joining Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's pretty damn cool.
Yep.
Pretty damn breaking.
A C-list celebrity, but hey, that's the first interaction we've gotten with our 20 followers.
We're not even on the list, dude.
Yeah.
So that's an upgrade. That's pretty damn cool. Totally lost my train of thought, but it was worth it for that. Oh, okay. Game of Thrones. This poster basically served no purpose other than to troll the entire planet, and it was kind of genius because it worked beautifully.
Yeah, it works two ways. You don't know what they're saying. It could have possibly one of two meanings. And I can't say what they are without just not dancing around the subject anymore.
Because I think we've said enough about it, but fucking Game of Thrones, everything they do is brilliant, it seems like.
And it pisses me off.
And it pisses you off, but you can't get enough. Yeah. Alright, speaking of Game of Thrones, Telltale, the famous video game company, they releases, it seems like eventually there will be expletives, Telltale series, it seems like. They just make a fucking game of everything you can think of. Even Minecraft.
Yeah.
It literally has no story. They made a whole series out of it. It's just insane.
Yeah, they were Minecraft story mode, right? One of the ones that did that?
So Telltale released, I think it just wrapped up recently, their season 1 of Game of Thrones, which is actually one that works perfectly for Telltale.
Yeah.
Not like Minecraft. I was actually really curious about playing Game of Thrones season 1, and it looks like it was pretty successful because season 2 has been announced. They do not have a release date yet. But those guys crank out shit like no other.
Yeah, they do.
They get through it quickly.
Which kind of worries me because they have so many different projects. They're getting maybe stretched a little thin, and
they haven't even started Marvel yet. They have Marvel now too.
They seem to, basically hit it on the head every time. So
yeah,
as far as fan reaction goes.
I haven't heard anything bad about Game of Thrones yet. I also didn't look into it that much as far as reviews.
Yeah.
Just because I don't have enough time as much as I'd like to be able to play
I've heard individual people like some better than others, but overall, if you're just checking the news articles, overall, everybody seems to really like everything they do, so I guess they know what they're doing.
And this next one is...
This next one makes you sad, but it's also kind of a relief.
Yeah. So, as you can tell, if you follow us at all, we're pretty big into Dark Souls. That was our first sequential we chose to do. We're about midway to 2/3 the way through the game, sorta, depending on how much we suck later, which is probably pretty telling based on our videos today. Dark Souls 3, which is coming out early next year. Might be the last of these, what's called the Souls series, which consists of, it started off with Demon Souls, and then led into Dark Souls 1 and 2, and they kind of spun it off into Bloodborne. Have you watched any Bloodborne at all? Like, have you seen any gameplay?
I know nothing about Bloodborne.
Basically what Bloodborne was Dark Souls and Demon Souls has like a dark fantasy edge to it. Bloodborne had like a horror... H.P. Lovecraft feel to it. Like, there's a lot of, like, Cthulhu type creatures. Like, it's very, very dark, Lovecraftian type imagery to it. The mechanics of the gameplay make it pretty much a Souls game, but it has its own flavor to it.
Okay.
So they ended up having, what will end up being a total of 5 games if 3
now,
is indeed the last one.
What's gonna fuck me is that, wasn't the rumor saying that Dark Souls 3 is Dark Souls with Bloodborne's combat system?
Yeah, that has had me worried because I think I've talked about it at some point when we've talked.
Yeah, you said you never really got a handle on the Bloodborne combat system.
Bloodborne didn't draw me in as much as the other Soul series, like where I haven't even played it yet. Like I don't know what it was. I've beaten the other 3, but didn't really feel the urge to play Bloodborne. Maybe because the art style didn't appeal to me as much, although on the surface it all looks cool. It just, when I think the Souls games, I think dark fantasy, not Lovecraftian, which to some people had the polar opposite reaction. A lot of people didn't play the other Souls games at all and were all over Bloodborne because it was its own different thing and it appeals to a different crowd. So it worked actually really well for them because most people they hit
an audience that they were missing with the other game.
And the majority of the people who are really into Miyazaki, he's the game director who's made all of them. I don't think he helped with Dark Souls 2 because he was busy with Bloodborne, but he's been associated with most of them. He has come out and said that that after the 3 Dark Souls games, Demon Souls and Bloodborne, that will be it for that type of game. Which is sad because I do like their series so much. It is sad to see it go away after just 5, but those games have so much replayability in them that you don't really just have 5 games. Like there is infinite game replayability in those that getting 5 out of that will last you forever.
Well, shit, how long has Dark Souls been out? And then us doing our sequential, how many people do we see running around all the time?
Yeah, they're very niche-y games, if nothing else. Like they've started to hit a wider audience other than its niche because it has such a reputation for what it is, being, just punch you in the dick hard.
That's what happened to me tonight.
Yeah, so that's what happened to me. It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad to see it go away after just 5 games. But what's good about it is I don't want to see happen. I don't want to see what happened to poor Metal Gear happen to Dark Souls, where freaking Kojima basically got tied to a desk for 30 years, forced into making games he really didn't want to make.
This means that we won't get the coveted Dark Souls mobile game. That's what this means.
What would be the Dark Souls mobile game? Does it just, you load it up and just die? Like, is it just like, is it Flappy Bird but not winnable?
Honestly, I think there already is one in existence. It's called Infinity Blade. If you've ever played that.
I've not played that. Is it?
It's kind of Dark Souls-ish.
Fucking impossible to win? Like,
sometimes. The Immortal King is pretty awful to beat.
So is it actually, so it's only mobile, or did you play it from?
It's only mobile.
Yeah, Yeah,
I've got 1, 2, and 3. If you watch out every once in a while, they're free.
Okay. Yeah.
Most of the time they're like $12, but every once in a while they're free.
For whatever reason, the Souls games work for me, so apparently I like getting kicked in the balls while I'm playing video games.
Yes, evidently.
Yes, apparently. Sorry, because I got you sucked into it too. It looks like we have...
Speaking of doing some kicking in the balls, the Xbox One's about to take another hit.
So, basically kind of like the one edge the Xbox One has had over PS4 has been the 360 backwards compatibility. Because I think they just recently kind of launched the patch to where they had access to certain titles.
Yeah.
To where the way that the Xbox One would work with the 360 games is if you put in, say, Red Dead Redemption, it'll read it as, hey, you own that game, we'll let you download it off the marketplace and you can play it.
Right.
Well, people were kind of looking at Sony, basically saying, like, yeah, you have your now streaming service, but this works better because apparently I haven't tested it myself, but the PlayStation Now service, because our internet infrastructure in America is just not good enough yet to
it's awful.
To do full streaming of, especially when you start like, imagine trying to stream Battlefront. Like, it just wouldn't work.
No.
Period.
But that's the goal that they want to get to, especially GameFly.
Eventually,
GameFly's been looking into that for a while.
Eventually, we will get there, but I don't think it's in the near future. But people have been looking at Sony, you know, like, hey, they have this awesome backwards compatibility service going. Well, Sony very sneakily snuck this in. I don't know if you heard about this, but did you hear about how this PS2 backwards compatibility was discovered?
No, I did not.
It was pretty interesting. So with Battlefront, actually, they, as part of a promotion, actually snuck in that 3 Star Wars PS2 games are going to be heading to PS4 as part of a Battlefront promotion.
Really?
So people saw this and they're like, whoa.
How is that possible?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
And the news broke, and this was a quote from Sony, "We are working on utilizing PS2 emulation tech to bring PS2 games forward to the current generation." They had nothing further to comment at this point in time. So when you combine that, which PS2 will be just fucking easy as shit for that system to run and for them to stream, because PS2 is nothing compared to games now. Yeah. So if you add that in with the Now service, which Battlefront's a bad comparison because that obviously is not going to work for that, but some titles will work on Now. Yeah. So when you combine the PS2 backwards compatibility that they're working on with that, it is compatible with the 360, or not the 360. It's comparable to the One as far as getting close to their level of backwards compatibility. So if the Xbox One loses that, they've already gotten demolished in the sales overall. Like, I think it's still like 2-1.
There was a study recently that said, basically in droves, first-person shooter fans are leaving Xbox One for the PS4.
Yeah, and what's crazy is they're still selling, or the totals are still about 2-1 PS4 over Xbox One, and the Xbox One went cheaper way earlier than the PS4 did. So, yeah, it just shows you do not piss off the gaming industry.
Oh, man, they will crucify you.
Because even though all that shit...
Gamers are the worst.
Even though all of that shit got fixed... And, like, the DRM stuff
shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Shouldn't have happened in the first place, and they shouldn't have been so arrogant.
Yes.
Because the gaming industry showed you right there, they will hold the fucking grudge, and 3 years later, 2.5 years later, are still picking the other console. Do not fuck with the gaming community. Like, seriously.
People are hate playing their PlayStation just to teach them a lesson.
Yeah, so this generation, like, I don't know, like, what does the Xbox going to have to do to make it
come out with the new console?
The Xbox XX, like,
the Xbox 2.
Fucking that was a stupid ass name. I still can't get over how stupid their
Microsoft's naming conventions has not been good. Windows 10, I mean, they jumped right over 9 because 10 is so awesome it skips 9.
Blah.
Yeah.
Fucking Microsoft. Yeah. I think that's actually a wrap-up of all of the news. So we're going to be moving into our Jessica Jones. We're going to start off with the spoiler-free review. And Ron. Let's see. I'm going to go find my notes real quick.
Yeah, so you came prepared. I don't have any fucking notes.
Well, you also have the advantage, like, you just finished it a few days ago. I binged it, like, the first 2 days it came out, so I watched it, like, 2.5, 3 weeks ago? Like, it's been a while, so I kind of needed to write down notes. So, I'm trying to think about where we can, start off with this in the spoiler-free portion. So, for those of you unaware, I don't know how the fuck you'd be listening and be unaware, Jessica Jones was the second iteration of Marvel's jump into the Netflix genre of shows. They're almost like a genre now.
Yeah.
Like, it's become like the 13-hour Netflix long movie where you can focus your storyline around not having to deal with commercial breaks or week-to-week programming.
Right.
Like, makes it a 13-hour movie. Which, it was kind of funny. When you think about it from a writer's point of view, how much easier does that make your life when you don't have to think about, oh, well, the commercial break happens here?
Yeah.
Like, I can only imagine how much that cause when you think about writing, like, let's bring up a different example, like Gotham. 22 episodes of Gotham.
Oh, just to be honest, no one's writing Gotham.
That's true. The scripts are off the Batman Wikipedia page.
Pretty much.
But the Wikipedia page has more character development and better, dialogue. So when you think about that, just first and foremost, I think the whole idea to bring Netflix Marvel shows was just pure freaking genius. Because anything they might not be able to do in the movies but want to do, they are knocking out of the park on Netflix, in my opinion.
Yes.
So this was the second one. The first one up was earlier this year in Daredevil. So why don't we just kind of give...
Would you think it would be fair to say that they are treating Netflix as like HBO, since it's technically a premium channel, more or less?
It's a good comparison because one of the things that has made HBO so consistent in their TV show quality is the fact that they don't have to dick around with fucking commercials.
Yeah.
But another thing that helps them is knowing you're going to be...
They also get regulated differently.
Yeah.
Because they are an a la carte, premium channel.
What also helps them write it is they know you're going to be binging it.
Yes.
You can write differently knowing the person watching it doesn't have to wait a week to come back, and you don't have to hook them every single time.
Yes.
Not to say Jessica Jones doesn't have good cliffhangers or endings, but it isn't as... They don't have to be as gimmicky about it, I think is a good way to put it, about making you come back.
Daredevil was a lot that way, too. Daredevil would just kind of stop.
Yeah, Daredevil and Jessica Jones, they typically had, like, none of them just ended flat, I would say, but I think it does help the show feel less gimmicky when you don't have to dig around with that.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to think of what's a good entryway point. Okay, why don't we talk really quick about your thoughts on Netflix and like a lot of things have what they call the sophomore slump. I don't think it had a sophomore slump, but I do think Jessica Jones and Daredevil have different strengths and weaknesses.
Yes, I would agree with that.
I think what happened with Jessica Jones is when I thought of Daredevil, and I actually rewatched Daredevil the week before Jessica Jones, so it was all really fresh in my brain. What I think Daredevil had going for it that Jessica Jones didn't was, to me, Daredevil, if I told you all of Daredevil was written by one dude, I think you'd believe me.
Uh-huh.
I think Daredevil from episode 1 to 13 felt more like a singular voice, to where with Jessica Jones, I felt in certain parts of the season, it felt like certain writers had a grasp of the material better than others. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I didn't notice so much of that.
It wasn't like a stark contrast.
Yeah.
But to me, like when Jessica Jones got enthralling, I thought it cranked it up to like 11 and got better than Daredevil ever was.
Yeah.
But I think Daredevil stayed like a consistent like 8 all the way across the board. I think consistently Daredevil brought you better episodes, but I think when Jessica Jones got into high gear, it was better than Daredevil. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for in a show.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of approach them from a different point of view, where to me it's hard to compare them because, the goal was different between the two shows.
Yeah, really the only thing they have in common is they're in the MCU and they're in New York. They couldn't have anything...
Yeah, the entire... Which, bravo to them because they did do that quite well, I thought, because, I didn't want to see her just running around kicking ass, taking names every single episode all the time, because I got that in Daredevil. I just watched Daredevil, so I did appreciate that. But as far as consistency goes, I don't know. It felt consistent to me, because what it seemed like to me they did was Daredevil, they're almost obligated to give you the fight scenes and everything because of the nature of Daredevil. With Jessica Jones, they saved it because they were going kind of more noir, classic detective TV show with it.
Yeah. They
even had some of her inner monologues, done in the classic sense of the old detective movies and stuff. So I felt like that they were more free with that, so they saved those scenes for when they really felt like, they brought something extra to it. Because there's entire episodes where she doesn't fight anybody or anything.
I totally agree with you. I think that while Daredevil would feel obligated to have a fight scene, Jessica Jones obviously doesn't.
Daredevil had an excruciating fight scene like every episode.
Oh, it was so glorious though. Like someone dies in some awful way every episode.
It was like
amazing.
watching someone else play Dark Souls in Dark Souls 1.
Yeah. The thing though, I guess I could say, and we're not going into any spoilers yet, so don't be worried about that just yet. We'll let you know when you need to stop if you're, for whatever reason, still listening to us and haven't watched the show or care about spoilers. I thought they could have done a better job with like her cases.
Yeah.
Because for those, when I was talking about how I felt the voice of the writers was disjointed a little bit, because when I thought about it after I had finished binge watching the show, to me, 90% of the plot that you care about happens in like episodes 7 to 13.
Yeah.
When you look back to those first few episodes where they're establishing characters, I thought the subplots with her cases could have been better, because if you're going to go the noir route, I think her cases should have been written better. It
did kind of turn into like network television, like CSI kind of stuff with these weird logic leaps and stuff. They didn't
not to that. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah, I was hoping her being a private eye, because one thing that I love about anything Batman that I very rarely get is the detective work aspect of it. And I was hoping to get that from Jessica Jones, and I got some, but
basically
not a lot of it.
So I think people by this point are aware of the villain, not specifics about him, but that he is played by David Tennant, who we all know as the Doctor.
Yes, 10th Doctor.
And I thought
most people the only Doctor.
I thought every single thing in the show having to do with him and his character was brilliant.
Yes.
But
I see what you did there, since that's what his Doctor was known for saying.
But everything else... Okay, let's back up a second. The writing staff was handed a gold mine when it came to that specific character.
Yes.
Because if you're talking rated R Marvel with that villain, it's fucking fascinating.
Yes.
Like, he is the most fascinating villain in the MCU, and it's not close.
Yes.
But when the writers had to come up with anything else that didn't have to do with Kilgrave in that show, I felt it was subpar compared to what it could have been. And what I wanted to make sure and talk about in the spoiler-free portion about it, because it's not a spoiler, I think this show, I wish it hadn't already been ordered for 13 episodes. Because I think when we were talking about how like 90% of that plot happened in the second half of the season, I think if this had been trimmed down to even 10, maybe 8, I think it would have been Game of Thrones level, like kicking you in the balls, like great pacing, just nonstop in your like one thing I think I want to describe in this show is that it's in your face, and I think it was. I think part of the problem of why it happens that way is they tried to go with like a Moriarty route at the beginning, man in the shadows kind of thing, and then when everything kind of hits the fan, like you're talking about in the second half of the season, is when he steps out into the light. So I think that's what they were going for, but I don't think they nailed that. Yeah, they like the okay.
I would agree that they missed that note.
Well, okay, when I'm talking about how I think most of the plot happens in the second half of the season, I'm not going to shit on the pilot. I thought the pilot was brilliant.
Pilot was really well done.
Where it felt disjointed to me was those episodes like 2 through 6.
Which is interesting because one of the big things we praised Daredevil over was about that it technically doesn't have a pilot because it didn't need a pilot. They knew you were going to binge it. So it's interesting that Jessica Jones had a really strong, what felt like a pilot.
Like they were selling the show.
Like they were selling the show, and then it just all of a sudden kind of waned off. And I think we felt that worse because we knew Daredevil didn't have a pilot, didn't need a pilot, we were binging it.
Yeah, it was kind of, like, you know what it almost felt like, now that I think about it, when you point it out like that, it almost feels like you could believe it that this came out before Daredevil.
Yes, which honestly, I mean, I'm not saying this was bad. I fucking loved Jessica Jones, but we're sitting here comparing it to Daredevil, and I think had it come out before Daredevil, you know, Daredevil would be that much more awesome, and Jessica Jones would have been fucking fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, it would have worked out better for both parties if it had happened that way. That's a good point. It's just... okay, when you brought up about how you said it felt kind of CSI in those portions of the season, what it felt like to me was more Sex and the City-ish than I think it needed to be. Because in those middle couple episodes, I think it's like mostly like episodes like 2 through 4 in that time span.
Yeah.
I don't even really know if this is a spoiler. I guess I'll wait for the spoiler portion to specifically say that. But in those few episodes, like, it screamed Sex and the City and CSI more than an MCU product to me.
Yeah.
Daredevil, and while it has to accomplish this, and what you were saying earlier, how you know, like every episode they have like a fight, it worked more organically within the MCU. Well, to where I think with Jessica Jones, when it didn't grind to a halt, but when they stopped it in those like middle portion, like episodes like 2 through 6, like did you ever get like a Sex and the City kind of vibe from it?
A little bit. I think what that stems from is something that you pointed out before when we were texting back and forth as we were watching it, and that is that it kind of felt like they were trying to be like shocking with what you were watching. Like you couldn't believe you were watching a Marvel property. Yeah, the way I think I texted it to you, or I at least put it in my notes. Manufactured edge is what I felt from it. See, I don't necessarily feel that way, but I did feel like that they tried to be shocking, and Daredevil did as well. And they had to do it different from Daredevil because Daredevil is just fucking brutal. You had never seen that kind of violence or brutality in any of the MCU properties. And they gave it to them in every episode, bones sticking out of bodies all over the place. And then Jessica Jones, you know, they had to do it differently. They couldn't repeat what they did with Daredevil.
One thing, I'm glad you mentioned that because it was one thing I thought of. I don't think I included it in my notes. But the way that you brought up about Daredevil's brutality,
yes,
what got Daredevil its R rating, I think contributes to what they were going for.
Uh-huh.
The brutality of it, I think, was not... Okay, Jessica Jones is, in the way you were saying how in points it's shocking, I think was kind of taking advantage of the fact that it's rated R. Like, they were trying to kind of, like, imitate HBO to an extent.
Right.
With Daredevil's thing, I think that they used the rating more to their advantage because the brutality is an aspect of the character. Because they were showing you for the first time a down-to-earth Marvel superhero, and what happens to you if you... Yes, he has superpowers, but he's not indestructible.
Yeah.
You see Matt Murdock get fucked up in that show.
Yes, you do.
To where I think that kind of contributed to his character. It shows, like, one of the big things about Daredevil is... No matter what, the Murdochs get back up. It was like the whole thing with him and his dad being a boxer. Like, the brutality of it shows what he's up against. Showing 35 sex scenes in Jessica Jones is not exactly adding to the characters, in my opinion.
Saying, I was going to save that aspect for later, but yeah, I think what they... I think what they were going for was to just show you that this isn't your typical truth, justice, in the American way superhero, and they didn't know any other way to show it. They
did it a little over the top to me. I
think that's where they went wrong.
Yeah. Trying to think of. I'm going to see if there's anything else I wanted to get to in the spoiler-free portion before we go ahead and move over. Okay. Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones was fantastic.
Yes.
I loved her lead. I loved her approach to the character. She made me forget she was ever in Breaking Bad.
Yes.
Which was nicely done. Which poor Jesse Pinkman will never be able to do.
No.
Much as I love him.
Be able to live that
It'll
down.
never happen. And I already kind of talked about it earlier. David Tennant's Kilgrave is, to me, the most fascinating villain I've ever had in the MCU by far. Like, I think
he's up there with Loki. I think that there's a tie between him and Loki.
I think, it's a tie between him and Loki. But
Loki is the only one that we've had developed in the movies.
Yeah, the only one where it's really fair to compare almost.
Yeah.
With Tennant's Kilgrave, though, is I think what contributed to him in that Loki's unpredictable, but in a PG-13 way.
Yes.
Kilgrave is unpredictable in a holy shit, what the hell is happening way.
And if someone had those kinds of abilities and kind of history he had, he still at the same time reacted the way I would expect a typical person to react in those situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, no, it was, he was done very well, and of course David Tennant was fucking fantastic as always.
I'm gonna save this for the spoiler portion, and was there anything else you wanted to touch on in the spoiler-free portion, Ron? Anything off the top of your head?
No, I just want to say we focused, I feel like, on more negativity about the show in this portion than we have, because everything we want to say positive we feel like is a spoiler. But we did really enjoy the show, and it was definitely worth checking out. And it's pretty good.
It sounds like, particularly me probably being really negative about it. I watched the entire show in like 3 days. I really, really liked the show, and like I was saying, we
are not known for continuing shows that we hate.
When it got kicked into high gear, I think it was better than Daredevil.
Yeah.
But why I like Daredevil better is because, to me, the consistent... Like, okay, if you put it up on like a line graph, like, I think Daredevil was basically an 8 the whole time. Like, I never, when I was watching it, was like sitting up in my chair, like gritting my teeth, like enthralled.
Yeah.
But I never had what I did have in a couple of minutes. We'll talk about in a couple minutes of Jessica Jones. There were a few moments in Jessica Jones where I said out loud, "That was fucking stupid." Like, there's a couple of moments which are pretty goddamn dumb, to where Daredevil never hit the highs, but it didn't hit the lows. So they're two totally different beasts. Like, the only way we're really able to compare them is they're both MCU Netflix shows, which does make it fair game to compare in how much you like them, I think.
Yes. And one thing that really helps it too is, who the fuck has ever given a shit about Jessica Jones until now?
The most 99% of people binging and watching that show don't even probably know that Alias exists.
Yeah.
They just see, oh, Doctor Who's in that, that chick from Breaking Bad, she's pretty cool. Oh, it's Marvel, I'll watch it. That's literally the selling point, so.
Yeah, so that's one thing it's really got going for it, too.
I'm trying to think.
Daredevil, they kind of had to hit, because, I mean, Daredevil is basically Marvel's Batman, so.
Okay, the next thing I was gonna say, gets more into spoiler territory, so, final thoughts. I really, really liked Jessica Jones. I had Daredevil fresh in my mind watching it the week before. Do you think Jessica Jones will make your top 5?
That is tough, because there's been so much.
It's been a
good
great
stuff.
For geek TV shows. This year has been amazing. I will tell you, it will not be in my top 5. Daredevil will be, I think.
I haven't worked on my TV shows yet. I've been working on my movies. As of right now, it's not, but
it could work its way into it.
It could, because there's some aspects of it that I really
I will say, I watched Daredevil again the week before Jessica Jones. I don't feel a strong urge to rewatch Jessica Jones anytime particularly soon. Yeah. I feel like it's one of those to where maybe it's because it's kind of the action point of view of Daredevil. Like, I think you can get more out of rewatching action than you can, like, noir, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, the narrative's already spoiled for you now. You've already watched it. So...
Which isn't to say that Daredevil is better than Jessica Jones purely on rewatchability. Because there's a lot of TV shows that I will never watch a second time that I love. It's just that you get what you got in the first viewing.
And you'll never experience it again the same way.
Yeah, I think... I'm pretty sure... After looking at my list, it will not be my top 5. I'm pretty sure Daredevil will find a spot in my top 5. But that was just kind of my closing thought on it in the spoiler-free portion. But yeah, we're going to be going into. Did you have any other final thoughts in that portion?
No, not really. Did we want to go ahead and do our usual sign off and then just stay tuned for
the spoiler portion? Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do the sign off?
So, okay, well, we as you just heard us, we just concluded the spoiler-free version of our review, so stay tuned for the spoiler-ridden version of our review of Jessica Jones. But if you're dodging out on us now, please leave us a 5-star review. If you're catching us on iTunes or Stitcher, if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to us. Check out our YouTube channel. We're doing some Let's Plays. We got some Star Wars Battlefront posted. We've got our Dark Souls sequential going. I'm still going to plug Transformers Devastation because I still fucking want that game.
We need to go back and finish that game.
Yes, we do. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/TWBE podcast. We are on Twitter at TWBE at TWBE podcast, where Mark Dacascos just liked our tweet.
We're famous, bitches.
Big things are happening, Jeff.
We're on the radar.
So, yeah, if you're ducking out on us now, thanks for listening. And we hope you tune in next week. If you're sticking around, well then, here's the rest of our Jessica Jones review.
Spoilers. Specific spoilers for probably... I'm sure we'll talk about Daredevil again at some point in more specific terms.
If it's Marvel, expect spoilers.
And spoilers. For the love of God, go watch both Daredevil and Jessica Jones. You should have already done that anyway, especially if you're, for whatever fucking reason, think we're entertaining. I'm sure you are into geek culture enough to where you've watched both of those.
Yes.
All right, spoilers again. Spoilers, and we are going to go now. All right. I started off the spoiler-free portion. Why don't you go ahead and start off the spoiler portion?
See, I was just about to tell you, since you had the notes, why don't you fucking start? Because I'm remembering it as you talk about it.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Okay. Here's the thing. It's all blurring together for me. I can't recall specific events like you can. I guess since you jot down your fucking notes. So as you were talking about things, they were coming to me.
Okay. I think this is a good starting point. I didn't care for anyone in this show other than Jessica Jones and Kilgrave as far as characters.
Not even Luke Cage?
Luke Cage, okay. I will totally watch the fuck out of the Luke Cage TV show because it's a Marvel show. But his character's portrayal, nothing to do with the actor. The actor was fine. I felt he was almost written kind of one note. Like, they didn't do anything with his character to get me like, holy shit, when does Luke Cage come out?
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. Luke Cage felt like he was just kind of there to me, but I did like what they did with him, and I did think it was kind of a cool introduction to him. But I do hope to see more out of him.
Yeah,
I feel like the actor did great for what they gave him to do.
Yeah, the actor...
But the problem was they wanted to introduce him without him being the focus. And they went about it a weird way, I think.
Yeah, they went about it a weird way, and I think they should have... Since he was going to be the very next TV show, I think they did kind of fail in the fact that they didn't get me excited for his TV show.
Yes.
Which,
I think here's the thing. I think if he's going to be a side character... They should not have had him in it as much as they did, and just when they did have him in it, have it fucking fantastic.
Yeah,
have him steal the show for those moments.
Leave you wanting more.
Yeah, had they given me less of him, and then having him when he was there stealing the show for those few moments that he was in it, then I think they would have done a much better job marketing his show.
For I
like the guy they have.
I like the guy too. I think the guy
he fucking fits the bill. He's huge, man.
And okay, real quickly. I loved how they showed his powers.
Yes.
Because for a low budget, like, obviously it's Marvel, it's not cheap, but it's not Avengers Age of Ultron budget. to make everything look like it was cardboard hitting him, it looked cool. Like they showed his powers really well.
That buzzsaw just grinding away into dust.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
I really okay. The thing that kind of interests me most about the Luke Cage show is the fact that I don't know jack shit about Luke Cage. Like I have literally,
he's a very obscure character.
He's not quite as obscure as Jessica Jones,
right?
But what Jessica Jones had going for it was the Kilgrave stuff.
Yes.
So I was familiar with him and just the concept of his character. I don't know jack shit about any villains Luke Cage has. Literally, my knowledge of Luke Cage consisted of when he ran around with Iron Fist as Power Man. I don't know anything about his character, which can make it even better because I don't know what to expect. So, I think they've started filming it, so we're probably going to we're getting Daredevil season 2 first.
Yeah.
So I would imagine when, Jessica Jones, when did it end up launching? Was it like December 17th or something like that?
What?
Or, November 17th,
November
something like
20th was Jessica Jones.
So, do you think if we get Daredevil again early on, do you think we'll be looking at Luke Cage kind of like winterish again? Do you think they'll bump it out quicker? Or they might...
Probably fall.
Since Jessica Jones had nothing to do with Daredevil, I think they could probably feel like they could wait more. They probably want to capitalize on Jessica Jones and make it a bigger priority to get it out quicker.
Yeah.
So we could end up seeing it more in the fall instead of winter. So I think you probably made a good call in the fall. Back to Jessica Jones, though. When I was talking about the leads... Specifically, the characters that I thought they spent way too much time on was Trinity from The Matrix's character, the lawyer. If I had to hear one more goddamn thing about her divorce, I'm like, we have fucking evil doctor running around. I don't give a shit about your divorce. I'm sorry. Like, they did not make that plot line even a little bit worth the time they invested into it.
Yeah, I mean... They did make it too big of a priority. It didn't detract from the show for me like it seems to have you, but
it didn't piss me off, but it made me want...
You sure sound pissed.
My biggest thing, and why it sounds like I am hating all over this show, is because of this villain and Kristen Ritter as the lead. This could have been like the best thing MCU has had, period.
Yeah.
Like it had the building blocks, so when...
And again, no attachment for anyone on it. So
no
it
attachment.
Could have been...
No attachment, and it's
everything.
Gritty rated R Marvel. And
yeah.
I mean, you heard me go gaga over the rated R aspects of Daredevil and what they can do that they've never been able to do in the movies.
Yeah.
With this dark of a villain, and I love dark villains. Like, that's why I love Game of Thrones as much as I do. I love me some dark villains. So this had the potential, and why it sounds like I'm being so hard on it is because it had all the potential in the world.
Yeah.
So when the plot slowed down to the point where they're focusing on subplots to where I didn't care about, I was like, you're kind of dropping the ball because you have so much to offer me. Why aren't you offering your strength, which is the Kilgrave stuff?
Yeah.
Which is why I think if this was 8 or 10 episodes of kicking you in the balls like Game of Thrones does, I think it could have been even better. Which is a shame that I believe all of their Netflix stuff on Marvel has been already contracted for 13 episodes.
Yeah. Because
if Jessica Jones, with the Kilgrave plotline going for it, and David Tennant can feel kind of lopsided, I do worry a little about Luke Cage. Because I don't know anything about Luke Cage, but I can guarantee you it's not going to be as enthralling as the Kilgrave stuff.
Yeah.
So, that concept...
Yeah, Luke Cage is kind of all hinging on the villain.
So... if they were lopsided in Jessica Jones being 13 episodes, Luke Cage might also have some pacing issues, which kind of worries me. We're being unfair to it because I don't even know who the showrunner is on Luke Cage. I don't know anything about it at all. I do know that they did confirm they are having, I don't know how big of a role she's going to play. I would imagine she might be similar to Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, but they are having Kristen Ritter on the show.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I thought they spent too much time on the attorney's divorce subplot. And what did you feel about the leads when they were leads of her best friend Trish and Simpson? When the first half of the season, when they were the kind of her sidekicks almost, if you want to call them that, like the sub-leads of the show.
I mean, I didn't have any problems with those two characters at all throughout the show. I mean, I thought they were fine. I thought they were in it, the right amount. I wouldn't have wanted them in it anymore. But
I think why
I like Trish, so I wanted to see more of Trish.
I think why I didn't care for those characters is because one of the things I like in fiction, period, in addition to good villains, is stakes. So one of the reasons I like Joss Whedon so much is because, like in fucking Serenity, when that thing happens in Serenity, you are like, holy balls, anything could happen in this movie.
Yeah.
So in Jessica Jones, what they have going for them is this fascinating mind controller. And he obviously creates stakes, because this is rated R Marvel. People can fucking die.
Yes.
If anyone in Jessica Jones died, other than Jessica Jones, which isn't going to happen because the fucking show is Jessica Jones,
right.
I wouldn't really care. Which, back to Daredevil. When they kill Uric, I was genuinely sad. Yeah. I really liked his character, and that created stakes for the final episode. Since I never grew attached to those side characters, obviously they're not going to kill Jessica. So
I got attached to Trish, though.
See, I don't know what it was. I didn't have a problem with the actress. The actress was fine. It was almost kind of like Luke Cage, like the writers. They didn't do a bad job, but they didn't do as good a job as I felt they did in Daredevil. Because, like, in Daredevil, I will go back and compare her to Foggy, because she's kind of like the Foggy of Jessica Jones. When they go back and they have, like, the episode where they're in college, like, you kind of started to, like...
Avocados at law.
Avocados at law.
I love that.
I started to kind of fall in love with the side characters. And, like, with Ben Urich, they gave him the subplot of, like... He's trying to kind of get out of this just to go take care of his wife.
Yeah.
He's trying to get out of it, and Karen kind of kept dragging him back into it, and his devotion to his own career of being a reporter kind of kept dragging him along to where when he died, I found it kind of tragic. Like, I was genuinely upset. And if they ever killed Foggy,
a brutal death too.
Yeah. And
that was brutal, some of those fight scenes, but that was a brutal death for anyone.
And within Daredevil, having Kingpin kill Uric, I think, set up the finale beautifully. Because up until that point, Fisk was a bad, bad dude and did fucked up shit. But the viewer doesn't have a direct emotional response to wanting to see him, like, beat the fuck out of.
Right.
Which you get at that moment in the finale. When Daredevil's in costume fighting the Kingpin, you're like, fuck yeah. The comparison they set up in Jessica Jones was Hope's death, to which I had no. And what I'm saying is, her death was supposed to be like the driving force to make you want Kilgrave fucking dead.
Yeah.
And her death not only was written poorly and came out of fucking nowhere,
I think
you don't have the emotional attachment to her character.
I think it would have been better served if they had Kilgrave order her to do it. But I get the reasoning behind it, because the whole reason she's had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to take out Kilgrave and didn't was to clear Hope's name. So,
and when she fucking killed herself for no reason in the show with mind control as a plot device was one of the moments where I said out loud to my television while binging it, that was fucking stupid. Because we talked about this before, it's one of my biggest problems with the Evil Dead remake. When you have mind control as a plot device, all of your excuses as, well, it's a movie or a TV show, go out the fucking window, because all you had to do was write it better.
You just literally had to have Kilgrave say, kill yourself.
Yeah, like, what the serious fuck? And the other instances of one of the other instances where I said that was fucking stupid happened in that same episode. So I don't know who the fuck wrote episode 10, but like all my complaints happened in like that one episode. But one of the other leads that I did not care about at the beginning, and they ended up making him kind of a douchebag with Malcolm. Towards the last few episodes, did he not come across as kind of like a douchebag to
Which
you?
one's Malcolm?
The drug addict neighbor.
Okay. Just taking pictures of her.
Towards the end, like, they made him kind of like endearing when he has his where he kind of kicks his addiction, you know.
Yeah. In
that kind of point, I was starting to kind of get on board with his character. But towards the end of the season, like they kind of made him a douchebag almost, like the way he's kind of.
I don't know. I didn't get that vibe.
The way he was walking around the apartment complex and like always being kind of bitchy to Jessica, like, oh my god, like he just came across as kind of like a douchebag to me. And the instance where they made his character just plain idiotic was where the scene exists only to let Robin, the neighbor, know that her brother had been killed. And he's at the diner. for whatever reason, they're still doing the subplot of the circle where they're all talking about their Kilgrave instances. That was past the point where they'd already established that Kilgrave's mother was a part of the group, right?
Yeah.
That plotline had already been dealt with. That was the only reason for the circle to exist.
The issue that I have with that scene, though, is not the same issue you have.
Okay.
But,
well,
it kind of is, but kind of not.
Let me finish my thought on it, and then we'll move back to
You and I took it two very different ways, and we both have problems with it.
So the scene in question we're both talking about, after the circle therapy group,
Circle
whatever,
must be broken.
after the
Dr. Donna friend. Sorry.
you're fine. After you only made me lose my fucking train of thought, you dick. After there is no reason for their little therapy group to exist, it continued on purely so Malcolm can be a fucking moron yelling at the bar at the diner, wherever the fuck they were at. Oh yeah, man, that decapitated body I helped hide, man, that sure was fucked up, man. Like, and he's yelling to the point to where they have Robin hear him from across the fucking diner. So, you're telling me no one else in the diner thinks it's suspicious that fuckface is hiding a decapitated body? Like, really? Like, it was just so stupid. Okay, and I continue.
Okay,
It pissed me off. I thought it was just stupid.
My issue that I had with that scene was he's sitting there talking about how at the mind control survival session that he hid and decapitated a body while not under the influence of mind control, and nobody is finding that alarming. Nobody in the circle
I didn't even think
alarming.
about that. That makes it even more stupid.
Because, like, everyone else is just kind of like, yeah, that sucks. And I'm like, no.
And
you'd be calling the fucking police.
And most of them are there for trivial fucking reasons, like the guy who had his coat stolen.
Yeah.
Who Jessica even called him out in the show.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you just made me hate that scene even more. Good job.
Yeah, see, the Robin part, I mean, I saw that coming a mile away.
That, like, you talked about before off mic, and I think in text message, the only reason that scene exists is so Robin can learn about the murder of
there's
Ruben.
umpteen different ways she could have found out.
And all of them to where the mind control aspect doesn't get shat all over. Like, just come up with a better idea. Like, you signed on to Jessica Jones with the mind controller. Like, you have to at that point understand that you're going to be judged harder if you have stupid shit happen like that, because all you have to do to fix your plot problem is have Kilgrave tell someone to do something.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's dumb.
It almost felt like they had different groups of writers working on different parts of things.
It felt disjointed.
Yeah.
And, okay, basically all TV shows end up having episodes that are better than others. What I felt Jessica Jones, their problem was, and not necessarily that, like, they had certain episodes that were just completely badass and other ones sucked. It felt like it all happened because they could have been better about picking who they were writing. Like, when we can pick out a specific episode and, like, this and this happened and this was stupid, I feel like that could have been handled better by just picking and hiring a better writer. I mean, and what also would have helped them is, like you talked about earlier, I thought was brilliant, if Daredevil hadn't happened first.
Yeah.
If Jessica Jones happens, we're just blown away because we've never seen this before, and then we see Daredevil as a progression of making the writer's room feel unified in their voice. Which, compared to Daredevil, like, it felt like they not only weren't all on the same page, but they're not all the same quality.
Of everybody, Daredevil was the most known property.
It's true. That's a good point.
You know, so I feel like that's what they're going with. But at the same time, it's the Marvel MCU. I mean, I think anybody at this point would have watched anything they put out.
Yeah, let's compare. You're bringing like the MCU and how we have kind of a right to judge them harshly in that regard of hiring better writers. Look at Guardians of the Galaxy compared to Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Like it was embarrassing how much better it was.
Yeah. And there's so much wrong with that fucking movie too, but you don't give a shit.
You don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, and what also sounds like we're bitching is not just that I like Daredevil better or whatever. It's MCU. Our expectations for anything MCU is through the fucking roof. Like, it has to be great.
If you watch anything Phase 1, like, nothing like that existed before the first Iron Man movie. There was no superhero property at all outside of the comics that was like anything you'd ever seen in that first Iron Man movie. And it just kept getting better and better until it culminated into the Avengers. Phase 2 was a little bit disappointing here and there because it started to feel kind of like in moments of each movie that they started using those as opportunities as a trailer for other things.
Cross-marketing instead of plot development.
And then it gets to Age of Ultron and culminates in the whole fucking movie is a trailer for all of Phase 3.
Age of Ultron in moments is almost as bad as how 80s G.I. Joe and Transformers was a toy commercial.
Yes.
Like, it was literally a bunch of mini teasers for other movies, which is not Joss Whedon's fault. That is all the studio head's fault. I'm not blaming Whedon for that.
Yeah, no, he even said they kept intervening with his project, said you have to work this in, you have to work that in. He had to keep cutting parts out of his own script to work
Which is a miracle that movie isn't Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Like, it totally... Like, it took the genius of Whedon to make that movie watchable.
Yeah. Which it is watchable.
It's
not a terrible movie. There's far worse movies out there.
And that's another one, just like Jessica Jones to Daredevil. If we had watched, in a nutshell, Age of Ultron before the Avengers, wouldn't have been as bad.
Yeah.
But in the back of our mind, it's like, dude, when I watch the Avengers,
I don't know that we would love the first Avengers as much because there's a lot of similarities in the two.
True.
Because the first Avengers blew us away because you'd never seen... If you had ever seen a team-up movie before, you had never seen a team-up movie that was good.
I think just in a nutshell, though, in every sense of the word, it's a better movie basically in all regards.
Yeah.
Plot was better, action scenes are better, to where Avengers 1 wouldn't have been as mind-blowing, but it would have felt more of a natural progression, and your expectations have been more fairly represented.
I think where Jessica Jones has gone wrong is just a couple of points, and that is... They wanted to be shocking. They wanted to show that they were different from the movies, which are PG-13. And Daredevil did that through brutality, like we said earlier. Jessica Jones tried to do that a different way because that's not what Jessica Jones was about. It wasn't about the fights. It wasn't about that. It was the noir. It was the detective aspect. It was all that. So they went with kind of out of place sex scenes.
That is the point where I was talking about with the spoilers I wanted to bring up.
When they got out of the Jessica Jones ones, they did it with Trish. I'm sorry. Mind control or not, that's the face of the man that tried to fucking kill me. You know, he would not be eating my pussy. That's all I'm saying.
And the ones that was also another one where I was watching it, I was like, we don't need to be seeing this right now. This has no point in the show. Other one that I didn't want that I considered a spoiler and delayed talking about was I don't need to see Luke Cage and Jessica Jones banging 5 individual times to understand they're banging. I fucking get it, Jessica Jones.
To be fair, superhero sex looks amazing.
It looked amazing, but I didn't need to see it 5 times. That was the point where it felt more Sex in the City, was them doing too many sex scenes between those two and the unnecessary out of nowhere Trish and Simpson sex scene.
And to bring the conversation full circle, the other place where I felt like it went wrong, it did feel like in places a long trailer for Luke Cage, in which they did not accomplish me wanting to see Luke Cage.
Building excitement.
They established a lot of his background, a lot of his backstory. They got you used to the character. They introduced the character fully. So they could just hit the ground running with the Luke Cage show now if they wanted to. I know all I need to know about Luke Cage. But
it just didn't get you really excited for it.
The last thing that I think where Jessica Jones kind of took a wrong turn was they tried to use Kilgrave as a Moriarty-like character and put him in the shadows, because the first several episodes you hear his name here and there.
Oh, when you hear his voice on the radio.
Oh, dude, that was chilling. That was the only word for that. I sat up in my seat when he called in.
Real quickly, did you find it odd they went out of their way to make him British? Because I don't know if you knew this, the character's not British.
Oh, yeah?
So I found it really, really odd when he
Doctor Who heartstrings?
When he is going to be in most people's opinion, their favorite Doctor for life. I found it very weird that they went out of their way to make him sound like the Doctor.
He beat out the fourth Doctor. The fourth Doctor was everyone's favorite until he came along. And Britain officially voted him their favorite Doctor.
It's not like David Tennant is using his standard accent. David Tennant is Scottish, I believe.
Yeah.
So, if the character's not British, and he's naturally Scottish, and an accent can go a long way to make you differentiate a character from another character. Why didn't they just leave him
He's
Scottish?
good at accents.
Yeah.
He's very good at accents.
First of all, why wasn't he either his native Scottish accent or American?
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of odd, because there were moments where I thought he was brilliant, I thought he was great, but because of his accent, he made you think the Doctor a little bit, which I think could have been helped. Like, they didn't help him out by making him British. Like, they could have helped him out by leaving him Scottish or American, I think.
Yeah. I think Scottish would have been weird a little bit for some reason, but British, I didn't even think about that aspect till you brought it up. So, I mean, it didn't really affect anything.
Yeah,
I didn't really think about
that didn't, to be clear, that didn't affect my enjoyment of the character.
Right.
Like, I've been praising David Tennant and the character the whole night. But I did find that odd from the showrunner's perspective.
Yeah. When they first introduce him, when she is saving the guy that's going to be the future drug-addicted guy, that's her neighbor.
Malcolm.
That was very Doctor Who. That scene, he had the two girls on each side and all that stuff. I mean, that just screamed 10th Doctor, that whole scene.
Which was...
But evil.
Yeah. And he
Cyber Controller 10th Doctor, that's what it was.
And he was fantastic, but I do think they could have helped him out a itty bitty bit by changing his accent. Like,
I don't know. I don't think David Tennant needed any help. But, real quick, just to finish the point that I was making before I forget my train of thought, because it is late and I'm sick and tired. Not of the conversation, I'm literally sick and tired. They kind of tried to go Moriarty with him, have him in the shadows, right? You hear his name tossed around here and there. Crimes are being committed, things are happening by victims of his. But he wasn't just in the shadows. He was completely removed.
that's a good point.
You know, like, even in the first, like, say, Sherlock Holmes movie, you see Moriarty in the shadows, literally. You know, not figuratively. He's literally sitting in the shadows in a carriage, talking to people and things. And he has a presence. And it's a very scary, terrifying presence, but he has a presence. David Tennant was completely removed. Until I think the radio phone calls the first time you heard from him at all.
And after that happened, they went, it seemed like the episode where they have the plot line of Jessica Jones doing the other case for the lady who ends up being pissed about the Avengers shit happening in New York.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think I don't think Kilgrave even gets, like, really mentioned in that episode.
No, and here's where it took a weird turn. Remember she follows Simpson back to Kilgrave after he thinks...
Jessica?
Yeah.
Okay.
She follows Simpson back to Kilgrave in that penthouse. She's looking through the skylight at him. And then when she's on the balcony and they meet eyes for the first time, and it has that dramatic scene where he stands up off the couch and all that stuff, and then he sends the family at her, and she has that brilliant line of, God, I hope this is only a 3-person family, because she's knocking them all unconscious and stuff. After that, it's no longer trying to go Moriarty. He's just the villain of the day every episode.
Yeah, that's true.
It was really weird.
It's disjointing as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had no transition. I think what they could have done, like Daredevil had Kingpin, even entire episodes that were just Kingpin, right? They didn't have to go that far. But how long was it before Kingpin and Matt Murdock finally met face to face? But yet you had seen them throughout the entire show together.
Yeah, it culminated better.
Yeah.
I think in Daredevil...
I think they rushed the culminating of events. I think if they're going to do 13 episodes, they should have gone longer with him in the shadows and him having a presence.
You know, I think would have been the perfect time to have them meet for the first time was when he has her at the replication of her childhood home.
Yes.
I think that would have been... Like,
that's when
if the first time they met was her ringing the doorbell and him opening the door, I think would have been intense as shit. Which is another thing.
How creepy was that, by the way?
Yeah, it was.
He had the same couch. It wasn't a one like it. It was the exact same one.
And what was the line, too, where he's like, oh, I pulled microfine glass to make sure the CDs were correct.
Yes.
Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Oh, it's so good. See, that's the problem that makes me feel bad for talking shit about this show, is so much of it is good.
Yeah.
That the parts of it that are good are so good that it makes the parts that you have a problem with stand out more, and then make you wish, like, oh, if you guys had just changed this, like, you could have had, like, oh my, like, this show could have been just amazing.
Yeah.
Like Game of Thrones caliber TV.
Yeah.
But it had problems.
It's not TV, it's Marvel.
Which, it's really rough because I like so much of it. My expectations were so high, and I think our last topic that we're going to lead into pretty soon is how we project going forwards, because they've already basically announced they're going to want season 2 of this.
Yes.
We had problems with the show when they were handed on a silver platter this Kilgrave story and David Tennant.
Yes.
What the fuck are they going to do for season 2?
I don't even know.
Because if season 1, if really all of the meat of it that was great was Jessica Jones versus Kilgrave, what do you do? Like, what do you do? Like, they couldn't even do that one perfectly. Like, what do you do?
Well, here's the thing. First, we hope that they know what worked and what didn't work, and they fix that.
True.
Second, I think without David Tennant, I think David Tennant was a brilliant draw to the show because he's the one that people are going to know and that people are going to watch it for. You and I immediately were like, David Tennant, there. You know, so I think they're back to sky's the limit again, to be honest.
Do you mean that in a positive way?
Oh, yeah.
Or see, I think it's a complete negative.
Do you? I would have wanted Kilgrave to get away and to show up as a villain in the Defenders, or possibly even one of the MCUs, even if he's just a side guy in the first, 10 minutes or something, like they did Scarecrow in Dark Knight. But I think that Kristen Ritter, Jessica Jones is not a big enough property to be a huge draw on its own. Kristen Ritter, people know her from Breaking Bad, but they don't know her name. Kristen Ritter doesn't mean anything.
And she was very popular in Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23, which is actually a pretty good show if you ever watched it.
But still, her name alone doesn't mean anything. David Tennant's name carries a lot. So, you get him in. I hope he's out because he had other commitments like you and I have talked about.
I'm sure he did. He's David Tennant.
Yeah. But
I should have Matt Smith. He's the villain of season 2.
But I mean, this is basically, instead of being Jessica Jones, was Kilgrave, was the name of the show. And now that he's gone, I think they are back to a starting ground, and now they have experience with what they're doing.
See, I go the complete opposite direction. In season 2, and this is actually more background I have
For
because
you, the head is cut off the snake.
One reason why I think they're kind of fucked is because you're not familiar with the Alias comic this is based off of. I haven't read it, but this is what has been explained to me from people who have read the whole series.
Okay.
The Alias comic book that this whole show is based off of lasted 28 issues, and you know how big of a comic, 22 pages of a comic.
Yeah.
Over in nothing.
Yeah.
The story of Alias started with her doing different cases and shit and culminated in the Kilgrave stuff. The ending of her comic book was the Kilgrave stuff. Okay. They have no source material to go to, and I have issues with their season that included, in my opinion, maybe the best MCU villain. So to me, I think they're kind of fucked. That's okay. For me, as a Marvel junkie, I will watch season 2, opening day, binge the fuck out of it because it has Marvel in the front of it and because I liked Kristen Ritter.
Yeah.
Everything in season 1 that had to come from the writer's room that wasn't Kilgrave related, I didn't really care for. So at the moment, I have no reason to expect them to be able to come up with good material.
You and I can't be the only ones that have those complaints, and they will hear that. Trust me, they are paying attention to
will. They also set up the subplot with the Simpson thing. I found that really generic. The super soldier pills. I found that more of a plot out of an 80s Van Damme movie than an MCU movie. It felt kind of generic to me.
I don't know. I found it interesting.
I found it very generic.
I found it interesting because we had yet to see a temporary super soldier.
Partially why I found it generic is I didn't care for the Simpson actor or that character to begin with. to where they have a twist basically where he ends up being a villain. I didn't give a shit. I didn't really like him as a lead, so that didn't have any emotional impact on me.
I didn't have any issues with him or the character or him culminating in being a villain. The issue that I took was it felt like they had already written and filmed X amount of episodes, and then they were like, oh, wait, but what if he was a villain?
Yeah, it didn't feel organic at all.
Yeah, and then it just turned all of a sudden. And they couldn't go back and fix what they had done. Other than that...
That was their only continuing plot point for season 2, when you think about it, was him. And the doctor dude who gave him the pills.
Yeah, so, I mean... I don't know. I mean, that doctor dude that was giving the pills and stuff could turn out to be like a Hugo Strange-like character, so...
Yeah, that's true, but it's just like, when you think about it, like, what came from the writer's room in season 1 that wasn't Kilgrave-related was all the stuff we were complaining about.
Yeah.
So, at the moment, yeah, the sky's the limit. In theory, they could do it, but at the moment, they have given me no reason to believe they will.
Well, the shoe is on the other foot. I'm saying the sky's the limit, and you're saying it's fucked.
And, this is the other thing it has going against it.
And he continues.
How much did we love season 1 of Daredevil?
Yeah.
Was John Bernthal as the fucking Punisher a part of season 1 of Daredevil? Or Elektra? Or potentially Bullseye? Daredevil is trending upward. Jessica Jones, in my opinion, already blew their load, dude. Like, if I have a lot of issues with how they handled, like I said, on a silver platter, a great character, a dark, gritty, rated R Marvel character that I loved, played by David Tennant, one of my favorite people on the planet. How the fuck do you get anywhere near that for season 2? Like, I just have no faith in them at all. And what I will top off my argument with on why I think season 2 of Jessica Jones might not be bad, but I think it is trending downward. Their showrunner, I was not familiar with until I got finished with the show and jumped onto IMDb. Guess where their showrunner comes from?
Where?
Take a guess.
Twilight.
She wrote the screenplay to all 4 or 5 of the Twilight films.
Are you serious?
I am dead serious.
I just pulled that out of my ass.
You called it perfectly because you pulled out of your ass a horrible thing for her to be associated with. So, yeah. Season 2, the chick who wrote the Twilight movies is having to come up with a shit that doesn't involve David Tennant. I think it's trending downward like hard. I will be there and watch it. I think it's trending downward. That's just my opinion.
I don't know. I think they're kind of back to clean slate again.
I just... Like, when I was talking earlier about how I thought Jessica Jones, when it kicked into high gear, got up to 11.
Yeah.
How are they going to do that? Like they had with those, they had all the building blocks.
I know that these two things are nothing alike, but my mind immediately goes back to Walking Dead Season 1, Walking Dead Season 2. You know, I mean, granted, they didn't blow through all of their source material that quick, but Season 1 is noticeably different from the rest of the seasons. It had a horror movie feel to it that it did not accomplish. You know, it had a lot of problems. It was still good, especially because of Andrew Lincoln and several of the other characters. But the overall story of it wasn't really good. It didn't really gel. And then season 2, mostly because they fired everybody that was fucking involved with it and rehired them. But season 2 is still my favorite season of that show. And I'm not saying, and like I said, I know Jessica Jones is completely different from it, and they've got completely different hurdles to overcome. But S.H.I.E.L.D. turned around. Walking Dead, which was already really good, turned around and got even better. It can happen.
It can happen, but the problem that they
if they identify that showrunner as the problem, she will not be the showrunner next time, I guarantee you.
Here's the problem, though, with those two comparisons. Is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., as far as source material goes, has 60 years worth of every Marvel title you can basically think of that isn't owned by Fox at the moment.
But see, another reason why Sky could be the limit is if they don't have source material, they can write original.
The thing is, like, you're talking about with Walking Dead. Walking Dead did get dramatically better from Season 1 to Season 2. After Season 1 of Walking Dead, they still had, at the time, probably 130 issues, or 120 issues of the comic they hadn't touched yet. At least 100. Jessica Jones is already done with their storyline as far as source material goes. So if you're telling me, if they're continuing the Twilight chick, Like, the Twilight chick coming up out of thin air, plot lines for Jessica Jones, I have no faith in that property.
I'm glad you didn't know that that's what she was before you went into it. You would have been a lot more harsh, I feel.
And I was already, I like it a lot. I really do. But the thing about it is, like, with Daredevil season...
A lot of the issues I had make a lot more sense now that I know that.
When you think about that,
yeah,
it makes you look at it as a different light.
Yeah. In a Twilight.
God damn it. It just kind of sucks though, because I think another bigger, it's probably its biggest hurdle will be Daredevil.
Yeah.
Is if Daredevil season 2, okay, I am totally excited to see Jessica Jones be a part of the Defenders. Like, I think she's a great character. I love Kristen Ritter. I just think as far as her own show, I'm already
feeling like she might be the brains of the Defenders too.
Yeah.
Not that Matt Murdock is not intelligent, but
if season 2 of Daredevil...
it seems like of those characters, she'd be the more Batman-like personality of them.
If season 2 of Daredevil with Bernthal as the Punisher and Elektra, and they eventually do Bullseye, like, they have shit to do.
Yeah.
Where I feel like the sky is the limit in a good way, with positive signs showing quality in Daredevil, where it's a total crapshoot for Jessica Jones at the moment.
Yeah, but with only 28 issues, also, they didn't have a lot of source material to work with to begin with.
But the reason they had a Jessica Jones show in the first place was the Kilgrave story, because that's what made the comic as popular as it is. So, like...
But they still have all kind... Kilgrave was primarily a Daredevil villain, right?
He started in Daredevil, but his most famous run as a character is Alias. So I don't know. It could totally be great.
There's still other obscure comic characters that they can bring over into it.
It's true. The problem is how much faith I have in the Twilight chick of making that because, like, man, how many complaints did we have with Kilgrave? Like,
I think this has been...
You had some complaints. Don't say it like it was all me.
I did.
You had some complaints.
But you had noticeably more with your notes.
It was just like...
I knew it was a bad sign when you told me you were taking notes.
And it sounds like I hate the show. I really like the show. It's just like...
You're having about as hard a time convincing me that you like the show as they had convincing me of Trish and Simpson.
I told you, I watched the whole show in 3 days. I don't hate watch shit usually.
Yeah.
Other than Arrow season 3. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
Don't get me started. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. But it sounds like I hated the show. I really liked the show.
You say it with such disdain. I really liked the show.
In comparison to how it sounds, I really liked the show. I just think aspects of it brought it down.
I think another difference between you and me is you seem to compare it a lot more to Daredevil than I do. Well, I think I am more. I've taken a step further back from it than you have.
I had also just watched Daredevil.
I think that's part of your problem.
I think if you had watched Daredevil the week before and you saw noticeably where it didn't dip up and down as much, that did affect the show to me. I still really liked it, but it could have been so much better than it was.
I think that's part of your problem.
Even you admitted it could have been a lot better than it was.
It could have. Yeah, I'll give you that. But they're trying to be such a different approach from what Daredevil was, and trying to be a totally different show from Daredevil, because you wouldn't want to repeat the same thing over again, the same formula. They do that in their movies already a lot of the time.
That doesn't involve going to Sex and the City lengths of 30 sex scenes, and we didn't even talk about the abortion thing. That was dark for the sake of being fucking dark, and I don't know if I appreciated it. Like, that was disturbing, and not in a good way. But yeah. So, okay, like, if I rated it out of 10, I give it like a 7.5.
That's strong.
If I rated Daredevil, I would say Daredevil is like an 8 or an 8.5. So they're closer than you think. Mostly on the shoulders of purely David Tennant and Kristen Ritter. Because I loved them, and I didn't really give a shit about anything else to do with the show.
I think they're going to go back and rework it. Because you and I aren't the only ones that are complaining about these things, I guarantee you. And Marvel is smart.
They are.
With their writing and their process.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that Jessica Jones Season 2 will be completely different from Season 1 in a good way.
I disagree. I think it'll be completely different in a bad way.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting because we're both on different sides of the fence.
Which is fucking shocking. When am I the pessimistic one? Like,
I hate everything, and then you're over there like, no, season 2 shouldn't even happen.
no, I'm not saying that.
I know.
It's just, it could, like, what happened was, they have my ass in my couch's seat to watch it day one, but, like, it's such a crapshoot. We don't know.
I think a lot of it, too, with how intertwined they had Jessica Jones and Luke Cage could be Jessica Jones season 2, more or less. Like,
basically.
You know, just switching gears. Whereas the focus was on Jessica Jones this time, it could be on that. So basically, like, what I'm thinking is, in Jessica Jones, you had Jessica Jones as the star. You had Luke Cage in it quite heavily, but never really the focus. And I'm thinking they're just going to switch that formula in Luke Cage.
I'm really, really curious on who the villain's going to be in Luke Cage, because I literally couldn't tell you a single villain in that show, so that excites me. From being so plugged in to going to the opposite, you know, extent of, like, not knowing a damn thing, like, it makes it more interesting to me, honestly, like, where I don't, like, because, like, to an extent, like, I'm always going to know kind of the idea of the Captain America movie they're doing. Like, I've been familiar with the Winter Soldier storyline, obviously the World War II stuff, and now the Civil War stuff. So, like, Luke Cage being a total, like, wild card is really, really interesting to me. I'm really, really curious about where they go with it.
So, yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. I just want Punisher to get his own show. That's all I care about.
Me too.
If it costs me all of the others, I'm fine with that.
I want a joke about how Punisher, like, gives kudos to Jessica Jones for snapping his neck. Like, you know, just like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's how Frank Castle would do it. Is just walk up to him, snap his fucking neck, because that is basically what she went full Punisher mode.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. Really quick, to be fair to me, you were saying it sounded like I hated all over it. To be fair, we used my notes to run the entire review. So obviously I'm going to have more specific complaints because we were running off my notes, which you didn't do, in fairness to me. So yeah, take that how you will.
Oh, Jeff. Like I said, I just knew it was a bad thing when you made notes. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it there.
Fine. Well, if you painfully stuck with us yelling at each other for an hour and a half after this point, we really appreciate it.
This was interesting because you and I usually agree a lot more than we disagree. And we agreed on a lot here, but where we disagreed, it was weird. We agreed on things for different reasons. Like the Waffle House scene with Robin.
Yeah, well, you pointed out something I hadn't even thought of. Yeah. And maybe you just like it even more, so good job.
Yeah, this was an interesting conversation. I might go back and re-listen to this.
I'm not.
I'm probably not either.
Yeah. No one listens to us.
I listen to myself all the time, so yeah.
Yeah, what hellish nightmare that must
I'm
be.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Imagine my wife.
So, well, did you like it better than Daredevil? Real quickly before we sign off.
I don't know. I have a hard time comparing them in my head because they're such different things.
I think you should watch Daredevil again to really have an opinion, because it was like, what, February when that shit came out? Or April?
No, it was
that?
April.
It's been a while.
April and Game of Thrones and Daredevil both came out same weekend.
And you've watched just an ungodly amount of TV shows since then. It's just, it all becomes like mush after a while. I think you should watch it again. We'll revisit this at some point, obviously, once we, get some more, news as far as the Luke Cage show, Daredevil season 2, like, it's not too far away on the horizon. But yeah, we appreciate you guys listening this far to our review and the weekend news. If you happen to find us through iTunes or Stitcher, go ahead, leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it. If you found us through YouTube, like and subscribe. You get all of our material on there. That's where we upload all of our podcasts, in addition to the Let's Plays of such as Dark Souls, Star Wars Battlefront, Transformers Devastation, just all kinds of Let's Plays we've been doing recently. We are on the social medias. Twitter is at TWBE Podcast, or Facebook.com/TWBE Podcast. I am Jeff.
I'm Ron.
And thank you guys. We will catch you next time.